What? It's on! It's on like... I'm gonna kill you and I'll keep killing you and I'll never... Cause you're... you take down to the train station in Trade Town. I feel like every bone in me body's broke.
The idea of supersonic warplanes was something that the world jumped on pretty quickly. The idea of dashing through enemy air defenses so fast that you would smell your own farts before you heard them was far too tempting to ignore. The dashing through air defenses part, not the second part. Soviet bomber development had resulted in a few competitors with different niches. The Tu-95 had the longest range, the M4 had the highest speed and payload capacity, and the Tu-16 was a good medium-sized all-rounder. The M50 also existed. By the 1950s, comically dangerous small jets were getting faster and better, which would spell trouble for large and slow unprotected bombers. Soon to follow were comically dangerous medium-sized aircraft, like the American B-58. Not ones to be outdone, the Soviet Union was eager to join in on this trend. With their elbows greased and their slides ruled, OKB-156 Tupolev got to work to create the first Soviet supersonic bomber. It couldn't be that hard, after all they were the same people who developed the Tu-4 on a budget of like 150 rubles. Building a supersonic bomber is a bit harder than just slapping more engines on, which is why they didn't go with their first idea of slapping more engines on a Tu-16. The Soviets didn't have much experience with large supersonic bombers and had to rederive much of the engineering from scratch. The prototype would have to be optimized for minimal drag because of their relatively underpowered engines. The seats had to be arranged to narrow the cockpit, and the wings had to be swept back heavily. The area rule also evolved after a mutation in the aircraft breeding facilities resulted in a desirable population of area-ruled models, which were then selectively bred to spread the gene. After years of navigating the nightmarish Soviet bureaucracy, and having 98% of the engineers sent to the gulags every month, and everything else that comes with designing a brand new aircraft, the prototype was ready. The prototype lifted off in 1959. All those optimizations paid off, allowing the plane to reach 1.4 times the speed of sound. Its sleek lines and sharp nose struck fear into the hearts of its enemies. But fear wasn't the only thing it could strike, because after just 3 months, it also succeeded in striking the ground. It turned out that the control surface actuators were sufficient for handling the extreme forces of high-speed flight, which at best resulted in loss of control, and at worst... Oh no! Where will we get a new actuator this late into development? If only there was some kind of existing part from another vehicle that conveniently has the exact requirements that we need. Oh. And that wasn't all. The plane was still plagued by other issues, including warping of the skin due to heating at high speeds, easily overstressed control surfaces, having a weird center of mass, having a weird center of thrust, alarmingly fast takeoffs and landings, downward-facing ejection seats. The Tu-22 in its initial state, and most of its states after that, was a dangerous and unreliable wreck, in more ways than one. So naturally it was put into production immediately. Tu-22s flew off the production lines until they got to like the 10th one, and then they asked themselves a very important question. Why are we making these things? Because of their unique design, Tu-22s couldn't really fill in the roles of existing bombers, but would still struggle in its new high-speed role because they could not outrun missiles or even interceptors like the F-104 or the Eel! And still had to rely on launching missiles or bombs from a long distance to avoid danger. This would only get worse as interceptors grew faster and more advanced. So, did they throw them away? No! Because there was still one more role for the Tu-22 to fill. The most exciting role of all. Reconnaissance!
I spy with my little eye something blue. If you say the sky again, I'm killing us both. No, silly, you have to guess. Is it the sky? You got it!
Beyond its chaotic design process, the Tu-22 was involved in all sorts of hijinks, shenanigans, and even tomfoolery. These included, but are not limited to, losing the first prototype in a crash, losing the second prototype in a crash, losing the fifth prototype in a crash, losing the sixth prototype in a crash, accidentally invading Iran.
Continue straight for 300 meters. Turn left. Turn right. Continue straight for 50 meters. Recalculating. Turn left. You have reached your destination.
Losing the seventh prototype in a crash. Invading Iran on purpose. With how much this thing crashed, you'd think the pilots were drunk. Which brings me to another matter. Air conditioning is a technology taken for granted by some and feared by others, but when the source of the air is a jet engine, it's pretty much a necessity. The coolant of choice for the Tu-22's AC system was a highly secret, never-before-seen mixture of 40% ethanol and 60% water. But fortunately for you, just for the purposes of this video, I have obtained a top-secret sample of this top-secret proprietary formula. Would you like to guess what the fine young enterprising minds of the Soviet Union decided to do with it every time they were left unsupervised for longer than 4 seconds? Obviously, we need an appropriately sized container for this. Maybe, despite its abysmal safety record, the Tu-22 could one day get a chance to kill people that weren't its own pilots. It would see some action in the Libyan and Iraqi air forces, but it wouldn't be until 1991 when the Tu-22 would finally get a chance to face its true enemy. The enemy it was designed to face, and outrun, and outfly, and destroy without mercy. In 1991, the fleet of Iraqi Tu-22s would finally face the United States.
Bombs around.
After just 5 years, the Tu-22 received some slight modifications in which its cockpit, wings, engines, fuselage, and everything else were replaced with completely different parts. However, I believe that I can do much better than these basic modifications, because I am not basic. I am highly intelligent, and I only do and say highly and intelligent and very well thought out things. I'm very smart. The Tu-22's high-mounted engines meant that their thrust would naturally force its nose down in flight. In fact, at certain speeds, there's a point where it literally can't pull up, at least in the one I built, which of course it's 100% accurate. So one possible way to fix this is to move the engines down here. Or here. Or like this. Alternatively, you could just put like an auto-rotating rotor at the front to generate lift to counteract the torque from the engines. Remember those wacky ejection seats? Well, I have greatly improved them with this. Not only an ejection seat, but an ejection aircraft. That's right, you sit completely above the rest of the fuselage in your very own mini plane that can be jettisoned when you're in trouble. So let's say, oh no, my engines have failed and I'm about to crash. No problem, I just eject and I pull up and I'm safe. Now, I'm free to turn around with my very own power and land at my leisure. And I forgot to put landing gears on it. Get a load of this, you're not even ready for what's about to happen. Take 2. Oh, ye of little faith. There's also this. I'm not sure what I accomplished, but it looks cool. I am out of ideas now, so I am going to send it into space. Hi. Let me walk you through what I did to this poor thing. I stuck some extra fuel on the ends of the wings and some extra intakes because these are probably not enough to fuel those engines. And I moved the engines down from where they usually are. Because if I don't, it's going to just leave the atmosphere and then instantly nose down. Okay, let's go! I should also mention I crammed a bunch of extra fuel tanks into the fuselage where you can't see it. And I didn't bother to check if it could actually take off with that extra mass. I guess we'll find out now. That's going to be an issue. Okay, we're safe. Crisis averted. So, while we're waiting for the plane to climb, how are you guys? I don't know why I'm talking to you like you're my friend. Especially since I've gone missing for the last 2 years. Don't worry, I'm okay. Sort of. Okay, I'm not okay, but at least I'm making videos again. Oh, I should probably mention, I've been asked for craft files, as in the files that let you guys experience the horrors along with me. I'm not sure where to post them because I have a lot of them and they are kind of hard to post on. Okay, there's this website called Kerbal that a lot of people use, but it crashes pretty often, and if I dump all my craft files there, it's certainly going to crash the website. I could open a Discord server. No, yes, I can, because Discord takes text files. So I could do that, or I could be evil. I could charge people for them. I could open a Patreon and charge people $10 for each craft file. No, or I could take commissions from people. Hi, this is me from the future with a message from the future. I decided to do some of both of those ideas, so I opened a Discord server, and I also decided to start a Patreon, where all of my craft files are available for free to the public. I must emphasize, I am not charging you. You can just go to the Patreon, and they're all there for you to download. But if you happen to want to support me making more content and make my life a little easier, I certainly wouldn't complain. Thank you. We have broken the sound barrier. I don't actually know how to fly these things. How much fuel do I have? I don't know what the stoichiometric ratio of unbranded liquid fuel and generic oxidizer is, but I think it's bad if I have less liquid fuel than oxidizer. I also don't actually know how to ideally, like, efficiently fly a space plane. I guess I just build up a lot of speed and pull up. I've spent so much time building things, I've had very little time to actually, you know, play the game. We are now reaching the stage where the aerodynamic effects start turning red. I usually play with them off, but here, let me show you why I usually turn them off. If I turn them on... You see what I mean? Whoop! I think 1 kilometer a second is kind of fast for this altitude that I'm at, so I need to pull up. It has just occurred to me I have no way of steering this thing in space besides thrust vectoring. That may be an issue later when I need to maneuver. Okay, we did it! 70 kilometers. Perfect. Now... we just wait until the music kicks in. I just noticed we have exactly 576 meters per second of delta V left, which is good. That's a lucky number. That's exactly 24 squared. Perfect squares. They're good numbers. Okay, I did it. I'm in orbit. Orbit has occurred. I should mention the one cheat I have on is infinite electricity, because I noticed at the last second that I didn't notice that this doesn't have any pilots in it because I didn't think about how to put pilots in it, so it's run off one probe core, and normally that's not a problem because jet engines generate electricity, but these engines for whatever reason just don't, and I could have just put batteries in it. Why didn't I just do that? There it is. The polar ice cap. You can almost, if you look carefully, you can almost see Santa's workshop down there, where he set up because the 13th Amendment doesn't apply to elves. Well, since we have so much fuel left over, why don't we try to land where we took off? Let's do half of a victory orbit to celebrate, and then let's do a deorbit burn. So my target is the desert airfield, which has drifted slightly because of Kerbin's rotation. But we should still be able to land reasonably close. This is where that not having any way to steer the plane in space is going to come to bite me, because I'm going to be re-entering backwards unless I waste a bit more fuel. Yeah, that works. This is a good re-entry angle. This is the one the space shuttle uses. This is how the pros do it. You know what? Since we're re-entering, let's turn those cool flame effects back on just for now. Let's use the landing gears as air brakes. Oh shit. Oh no. I just lost my wingtips. Well, at least I lost 2 parts. Okay. I think we're safe. Let's switch back to jet mode and fire up these rapiers. My turning circle is currently the size of, like, the moon. And this is still a 2G turn, so nothing... I mean, fighter jets can do, like, 5 continuously, but still, this is a good representation of my life right now. Everything's on fire, but I'm just pretending it's okay. I should start slowing down now. Am I stupid? Where? Oh, there it is! There, right ahead of me. It was just blending in really well. I never thought I'd get this far, so let's try not to screw this up at the last second. Making my approach at the speed of sound. Let's see if I can make this sudden, sharp turn. I may have overcooked this. No. Nope. Come on. Oh. Almost perfectly lined up. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Touchdown. I did it. I did it. I played the game successfully. Well, there you go. If you've ever wanted to know if you can send a Tu-22 to space and back in not 1 piece, 3 pieces, since 2 pieces broke off, there's the result. NASA, my inbox is open. I've sent you my resume every day for the past 4 years, but all I've gotten is cease and desist letters.
You are driving 1,014 miles per hour over the speed limit and owe us $8,000 in fines. Stop in the name of the law. I am charging you with speeding and flying under the influence. Want to add resisting arrest to that? He's too fast. I can't catch up. Roger that. Moving to intercept. supersonic. He's heading for orbit. Call in the Space Force.
Your
Wake
ass
up!
is ass and I'm the grass
Sir,
man.
please
punk
stop moving
here.
around. We're trying to pull you out.
Haven't